and, and he a lot of times does. Know that we have a board member that was unavoidably delayed, and I'm going to give her about 7 or 8 minutes, like we did Tim the last meeting. So hopefully she'll show up. If not, we'll go up. Won't hold you up any more than that. Okay, the time is now 5:04. At this time, I'd like to call to the July 15th, 2025 special call meeting. Let's see, if they have it in their statement, board motion.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. By working together, Spencer County School District will make a difference in the lives of all students.
Okay, everyone's had a chance to review and adopt the agenda. I do want to note that Mr. Truitt, Tim Truitt, is with us by teleconference, as you could, is noted on your agenda. Hopefully you all can see and I know you can hear. So that works out. Is there a motion to approve the July 15th, 2025 agenda as presented?
I'll make that motion as presented.
Lynn, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Jason? Okay, all in favor? Unanimous? Unanimous. Presentations, Dr. Foster.
Yes, so as you guys know, we have been in a 20-month journey to get our middle school, elementary school project off the ground. We've recently had our second bid opening, which is actually officially the third bid opening. And about a year ago-ish, we hired Alliance Corporation to take over as our construction manager. So we have Mr. Ryan Martin is here tonight to share with the board the information from the bids, which you guys will have to consider here shortly. So Mr. Martin, come on up and join us, sir.
You guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I'll be part of the Alliance management team for this project, so you'll probably see me a little bit more of me as we go along. So I did hand out a packet, so you would open that to your second page there. So basically, there's a summary of bids from June 26th and July 8th. We'll kind of review here in a minute. There's a recommendation letter from Sherman Carter Barnhart's attached to this. And the next to the last page there, we'll have the recommended action for you guys to vote on tonight. Okay. So if you turn the page here to the summary of bids, for the most part, it was pretty good participation. We were stood up twice by a couple paving contractors who confirmed all the way up to the last day before the bid on both occasions. For whatever reason, we didn't get a bid. So I think we've talked about it. We did get pricing through a different source. One of the bidders did bid that contractor, so we've got that money set aside in contingency to award that through a change order later on down the road. So I think we're covered as far as cost is concerned. On the second page here, as we were doing our post-bid reviews, we had a couple of issues with a couple of bid packages. One was the 116, the sports equipment. They turned in a non-compliant bid with a non-approved bleacher manufacturer. So we had to disqualify them, move on to the other bidder, Tobine. And the fire protection low bidder, he had incomplete scope. So he didn't pick up everything. We don't like to punish people. So we asked him to withdraw, and his letter is on the next, is attached here. So we had to go to Landmark. I know it's quite a bit more money, but his bid was compliant with everything. So we do have complete scope there. With that being said, we've got base bid, alternates 1, 3, 4, and 5 total here for $27,973,845.78. It's the amount we come to. The alternates were multi-purpose building. We had some right-of-way work here. I think that you guys we have to do as an alternate so we can identify that cost so you can get reimbursed back for that. There were some owner-preferred HVAC equipment and lighting controls, which I don't think were any cost for those. So they were included in their base bid. So we've also got Sherman Carter's recommendation letter here. I didn't know if Allison wants to speak to anything on that. So
Jump in here.
So Brian covered the bid results pretty well. He talked about the pavement, how we weren't able to get a bid there. And then I would like to just hit on real quick, the plumbing and HVAC package came in pretty good amount higher than was estimated by Alliance Corporation. And I think a few factors played in there. I think the first factor is we're seeing this on other projects as well, with or without Alliance. So as we're just seeing a very saturated market and a limited number of mechanical contractors that can bid a project of this size. We also feel, based on our many years of experience, the first time this bid, I believe there was an ad of $500,000 to go with thermal equipment, which is your owner-preferred HVAC. This time around, it was zero. So we have a very strong feeling that that was already included in that base bid amount. So a few factors playing into that bid package there. Alternate number 2, that's another one that was bid the first time around. And I have that. I think it was about $600,000 the first time it bid, close to $700,000, and this time it's over $900,000. A couple of things to consider with that. That's the admin office addition to the middle school. It's 6 offices. It's very small. If you divide that out, cost per square foot, it's nearly double what a typical new construction would cost, and it's just not of good value to the district. One factor contributing to that high cost is you're maxed out on your allowable area of that building, okay, when it was built. And so now the codes have been updated and it's become more stringent. So when you add on, well, now you've got to update your whole building with fire, evac, voice alarm system. So that's included in that alternate because that's a code requirement. We've reviewed that with Dr. Foster, and I know he's had subsequent conversations. We just don't feel that's a good use of your money at this point in time. So that was alternate 2. Alternate 6 and 7 were 2 different options for pavement remediation there on site for all of the existing asphalt pavement. And those were recommendations that we received from the geotechnical engineers. As Ryan mentioned, we did not get a bid from an asphalt contractor, so I'm sure we'll be reviewing the bid that we've received and review that with you at a later date. I think that's pretty much all that I had in my recommendation letter. Happy to answer any questions.
So the board has on your ivory colored paper,
Yes.
you have 2 different proposals. So proposal 1 is what Mr. Martin has shared in his packet. That is the base bid with the addition of the multi-purpose facility that adds up to $27,973,845. And then the other document is the base bid minus that. So you can see the price difference there. So roughly $3 million for that facility. So you can see that the recommendation to include that increases that by not quite $3.5 million. So that would be the difference in those 2 prices. I don't know, Ryan, if you would have anything to add about the multi-purpose facility, anything that we learned in the bid process of note. That felt very similar to what it did a year ago. I don't think we learned much from subs or potential bidders.
No, there wasn't much input from anybody about that, so.
But the scope of that did not really change. We looked at some of the specifics within the building and different things. But other than that, that's pretty much what we had about a year ago.
The value per square foot
It's
is.
about $350 a square foot. It's a 10,000 square foot facility. It's a little bit higher for a preacher metal building, but it also has a required aggregate pier foundation system because there's poor soils in that area. So that makes sense for a slightly elevated cost there.
So roughly, if you're trying to compare an apple and apple, which is tough compared to last year. So last year when we bid, we had quite a few more add alternates, and so many of those were brought into the base package. But if you remember a year ago, the price for most of this was about $32 million. So it's come down a good bit, and being able to include that add alternate there would be something that I think would be wise for us to think strongly about and try to get that done now while we're going to be doing major renovation and work on that campus. So I wanted the board to be able to see the difference between the 2 and understand what those 2 different sets of numbers were, because they are greatly different.
So next to the last page would be what you're going to vote on tonight. Would be one motion. Would be to accept the base bid plus alternates 1, 3, 4, and 5. Award contracts and purchase orders, and there's a summary sheet on the very last page of contracts and purchase orders, how everything's differentiated. For totaling $27,973,845.78 for those bid packages listed there. Accept Twin Lakes Fire Service withdrawal letter. Okay. Reject the bid submitted by National Equipment and Solutions for the bid package 116 because it is non-compliant. Authorize the board designee to execute the requisition for funds, payment application forms upon execution of the same by the architect and construction manager. Authorize the board designee to execute the BG4 and BG5 forms, those are contract closeout forms at the end of the job, upon execution by the architect. And authorize the board designee to secure the builder's risk insurance in the amount equal to 100% of the construction cost. So, if you have any questions?
I do. What makes this 116, what makes them non-compliant?
Their bleachers, manufacturer was not listed in the specs as approved manufacturer.
What makes them approved?
They could show compliance with ASTM testing criteria. We have a very tight spec in regards with, we want a quality bleacher system. You know, you're gonna spend some money on it. They were not able to show, we even looked at it after the fact to give them the chance. We looked at all of their information, their cut sheets. They could not show compliance with anything in our specification.
And they did try to submit that for a substitution request. It was just too late before the bid.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, is it going from 406 to 578?
Yeah, that, the national equipment at 406, and we're rejecting that.
That's the one that, okay,
Yes.
that's a big jump.
That is that's a huge
Yeah.
jump.
That's why I was a little concerned about, you know, what
Yeah.
makes it compliant and all that.
Right.
Okay.
And you all as a board certainly have, I mean, the power to say, no, we're gonna go with, you know, national, you know, that's just what our recommendation would be based on, you know, what we know about the manufacturer Toadvine utilizes and the manufacturer submitted by national.
Yeah, I just, you know, for that kind of money, I'd like to see apples to apples for 406 to 578 for some bleachers. That's a big jump for me.
Yeah. 160,000.
Which Toadvine is
They are,
a pretty
Yeah.
reputable company around the area.
And I was gonna say, they are local. This other company, I believe, was out of Maryland, I believe.
Yeah, but the bleacher manufacturer was
Canadian.
Canadian, which doesn't really matter
Yeah.
here nor there, but,
So,
which is probably why they can't show compliance with some of the American ASTM
Yeah,
standards.
I got you.
I mean, that makes me nervous when you say non-compliant. What kind of impact would that have on any kind of liability?
yeah, long term.
Yes, and long-term.
Yeah, I would think that Toadvine would want to maintain their reputation and being local, especially.
Any, sorry, any other questions or comments? At this point, I guess we'll talk more in a minute.
all right, thank you.
Yeah.
So our second presentation, we have Mr. Skinner with us from RSA. I know my question throughout this whole thing is how in the world do you pay for it? So Brian Skinner
It's the easy
and
part, right?
Mitch Crump, who's a retired superintendent from Meade County, are here representing RSA to just talk the board through our reality of bonding potential at this point. So welcome, gentlemen.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Foster. Thank you, board. Again, I'm Brian Skinner, it's Mitch Crump here. We'll talk through your bonding potential. A lot of numbers there as you flip through it here, so if you stop me along the way, if you have any questions or anything, I'll try not to read every single number to you here. To give you an overview of how you guys can comfortably afford that project and not lock yourselves out of doing projects in the future. So with that said, I'll just flip to page number 1 here. This is a listing of all of your outstanding bond issues and the local payments on that. So the state through the SFCC, School Facilities Construction Commission, makes some payments on some of these. These are all that the school district locally is responsible for. We put these in fiscal year payments. They are made twice a year, but for budgeting purposes and everything, we do everything based on your fiscal year. Just going through there, and I won't read everything off. See column A is series 2005. Generally in Kentucky, we do 20-year bond issues. So that was probably done later in 2005, pays off in fiscal year 2026. So we're in the fiscal year where that pays off. The next you'll see 2011R. The R means we refunded something. So down at the bottom has a little explanation of what each bond issue was. That refinanced 2004 bonds that built the New Spencer County, at the time, New Spencer County Elementary School. And what a lot of times you think is we're paying off some of these bonds. We may have extra money through here. Well, unlike a mortgage where you make the same monthly payment, same annual payment, we can structure these around your current debt. So you'll look at column C there, 2016R. the payments for fiscal year 24 and 25 are a little lower, then we raise them up to try to keep your payments level. We cannot assume any growth on here. We assume everything's going to stay the same. So we try to structure these best we can to keep your payments level and maximize your future bonding potential. Maybe play into how current rates are. Again, won't go through here all of them. Your latest bond issue, I believe I was here to help pass the resolutions for it last year. In 2024, you see goes off, it pays off in 2044. So everything you'll see here is based on a 20-year bond issuance. We could go beyond that if needed, but at this point, we do not believe you guys need to do that. Next page has a little bit smaller writing, a little bit smaller font here, but that's a good thing. When a district has smaller fonts here, it means they've got more nickels, they have more local sources of funds to be able to fund these projects. Again, we're doing everything here based on a fiscal year. So every school district in the state has column B, a local nickel. You have to take a nickel, put it to your building fund to use for building purposes, okay? Column C and D are both growth nickels. You guys fortunate to have 2 growth nickels. And so those are the same as your local nickels. So all 3 of those go to your building fund. In addition to that, you have the state match. We call that FSPK. You guys, each of your nickels are matched. We combine column F into one. That's just where we're matching column C and D, those 2 equalized growth nickels there. The column G is your capital outlay fund. You get $100 per unit of ADA, so not per student, per unit of ADA. We show that at 80%. You can use more than that, use less than that. Generally, across the state recommended we show 80%. And then column H is your total local funds available. So each year you've got about $5.7 million worth of local funds to make debt service payments, to pay the principal and interest on your bonds. So when you're going to, say you're going to get a mortgage, here's what your income is, and then we separate out what your car payments are. We're left with how much you have left to make that house payment, right? So column I are your local payments. So we subtract out all of your current payments. Column J, we then net out and show here's how much we have each year to make debt service payments on a project. Columns K, L, and M are those SFCC offers. Those are offers of assistance from the state you get every 2 years. Those can be applied to categories 1 and top 2 categories in your facility plan. We do plan to use that for this project. So those get added in for column N on the far right. It's circled. Those are your total local funds available, or total funds available, local and state, to make debt service payments annually. So that is what we model any new bond issuance, any bonding potential off of. Any questions on this page?
I should know, but in column G, what is the at 80%?
So you get $100 per student. So if you're ADA, we got kind of footnotes down here based on
Okay.
the SEEK forecast numbers. Your ADA is a little over 3,000. We basically multiply that by 80 and get 80%. Just hold back 20%. A lot of people use that to pay insurance or different things that you can use that for. It's not strictly for billing purposes.
Right.
Great question. All right, so the next page is what we're going to call projected series 2025. This is, we took out your current payments that are outstanding now. So if we want to get to what your bonding potential is going to be in the future, we need to take out approximately what we're going to use for this current project. So we're estimating about a $30 million bond issuance. Now that's going to move up and down based on what you award, the cost, if you have extra cash we put in, different things. So that's not an exact number, but we think it's pretty close based on the construction bids. So again, we're in fiscal year here. We keep just for reference what our current payments are in that first column. And we go to the right, and here's kind of where I mentioned we don't have to have level payments every year for a school bond issue. So we structure the principal payments in column C. They've got to be in $5,000 denominations, which is how they sell bonds. If somebody wants to buy a bond, you buy $5,000 worth of it with your retirement account. These are current interest rates. If we sold today, it might be slightly lower. We don't want to come in and tell you they're a lot higher, but they're pretty market rates. On the column E there is your interest payments. That's just a factor of what each of those interest rates are. So right there, you'll say, oh, why does our interest rate go all the way up? Well, when we sell these, we package everything together, we advertise it to the market. The underwriters, the Bank of Americas of the world, we pick 11 o'clock on a Tuesday to sell these. They will assign an interest rate to each annual maturity on there. So these are fixed, they don't go up. But one of the reasons that we're able to come back and refinance these a lot of times is, you'll see in the first, say, 10 years, our interest rates are below 4%, above 4% generally after that. Well, in 10 years, in theory, we'll be able to refund those with lower interest rates. So just the further it goes out, the more demand the investor has to get a higher interest rate. So we do sell fixed rate bonds, only no variable rate bonds, even though the interest rate does vary year to year. So column F, again, this is just totaling those up. Column G, that SFCC portion, this is how we are paying for part of this. This is just those three offers added together from the page before. Column H is what we're taking from your local funds, which again are those nickels and the matches. I adds those together. J is that total amount that we had. We then subtract all that out. And column K is what we have left over annually to add towards another bond issue, to put towards it to make that service payments. You'll see the top where we've got it kind of circled and says unused restricted cash. That can be used for capital funds request. It could be, you save a little bit of it, you put it onto a project, like a future project that we may do, or you want to buy land or do smaller projects you don't want to have to issue bonds for. You can use those funds for things like that. So when we show bonding potential, we don't even include those in there. So, but you could very well have that cash set aside. A lot of districts use it for other things. So don't assume you just have that extra money always there. It gets used a lot, but it can be really handy if you don't have a big project. So the next page is more kind of informational. I won't go through all this, but basically what we wanted to do is some districts have less revenue every year. They're losing students, losing property values, things like that. You're very fortunate. Every single year you've had growth, your local sources have gone up. So what we do typically is we get a couple averages of how much has yours gone up over the past 10, 12, 14 years. What we see with you guys, we've got your local nickels there. So every year your assessments have been going up. Your capital outlay has been going up, which is a really great sign, showing that you're not only staying steady with the enrollment, your enrollment's going up. And in turn, you've got higher FSPK amounts. Now, beside the point, we're only showing 2 FSPK amounts instead of the 3, because that one of them only got equalized a couple years ago. It would have thrown off the math. So that's why our total local funds are missing one of the equalizations there. So the far right, you'll see revenue growth. Every other year, you'll notice that the revenue growth was significantly higher. Those are in the biennium years, where they make an adjustment to the state match, traditionally, not guaranteed, but we can pretty much bank on they're going to continue to raise that multiplier for the state match money. And so that's why we get a big one. You don't get that one in the second half of the biennium, which is why it kind of goes up and down. So 5-year average, we got at about 7.7% increase in uses and sources of funds each year. Total average is 5%. So a lot of numbers just to get to those two little percentages there. So on the next page, we decided to be, of course, like we try to be a little more conservative, and we assumed a 4% growth. So below both of those estimates, we assumed 4% growth for each of those. And this page is very similar to that first bond issue that we showed you. And this is what we would call, what we estimate to be your bonding potential next summer. So basically a year for now. Assumed you already issued $30 million. Everything went up by 4%. Here's where we're at. Basically, scroll down to the bottom left, $24 million in bonding potential. Looks like we got a weird little negative there in E46, but ignore that. Not sure where that did or if it was just in my printout. So basically, next year, even though you're doing, say, a $30 million project here, you'll have $24 million. Over on the far right, you'll see you'll still have some unused restricted cash to use for smaller projects, and then we come as close as we can on bonding potentials to zero that out. Of course, in time, we expect you would be able to build back from there at the sustained growth. Now, the next page is a little more realistic because it's unlikely you could get everything together in time to bid another $24 million project by next summer. Maybe you can, good work if you can. But more likely, we're looking at, say, summer 2028. You may have another big project. This project will be finished, be able to move into one. So just skipping down to the bottom there, about $29 million in bonding potential in 3 years from now. So pretty much fully recovered from that, do another $30 million project. You will have had a few years of those unused restricted funds on there, a couple left. And you'll also have, in theory, a few SFCC offers, which we've ignored in both of these. Who knows what the state's going to give out in offers. We hope a lot, not optimistic that they'll have a lot to work with.
So is that,
Go ahead.
that looking at 2.5 million growth in bonding potential a year? Or am I looking at that incorrectly? I thought it was more.
Yeah,
From 26 to 28.
that's probably fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
And then, I wouldn't say exponentially beyond that, but once it starts getting bigger and bigger, you pay off more debt. You have some at the end where we're putting the larger principal amounts. So if you look at that last page, 2028, that last principal amount we've got on there, $5.5 million. We're able, because you don't have any debt out that far. So if we go another year, we'll take off whatever that top one was and add $5 million to that. So it can grow pretty quickly from there. The last page, again, is just a summary of future bonding potentials. And we put the assumption that it's got $30 million issued. We say summer 2025, probably a couple months from now. So it might be early fall. And then just one that we like to throw in there, if you happen to pass a recallable nickel, it gets equalized. That would add approximately $23.8 million in additional funds to your bond potential. So it's a lot. That's nice. Yeah. Got a lot of good opportunities here in Spencer County. You guys have done a good job managing, funds, keeping the school running good. Students want to come here. Works.
Yes, they do.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions on any of that?
Thank you, guys. Very helpful.
Thank you all very much. We'll move on to action discussion.
So the first one is to approve the contracts for the elementary middle school project. And again, note that the presentation from Alliance and my recommendation would be to include the multi-purpose facility. I think it's an opportunity we can afford. Obviously, we have a huge need for public restrooms on the campus. It also gives us space that we direly need. We have sports such as wrestling, archery. We can use it for before and after school programs. It's a space that I think we'll put to use. It is not the Cadillac. I think it's a reasonable thing. I think we're also looking at things like the auditorium, which is beginning to show its age. So I'm confident in the balance of things that we're supporting on that campus, a new gym for the elementary schools. So this is my first one of these. It's scary as heck. But I think I worry that not doing that multi-purpose facility would be something that we might regret.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Is Churchill McGee, we're working with them right now on this
They are.
campus?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So Churchill did the ELC second floor. They're doing the
Yes.
family empowerment. They also have the parking lot.
Okay,
behind us. Yes, ma'am.
okay, very good.
So
Thank
they
you.
are included as the general trades contract, is that correct?
And you've been very happy with working with them, haven't you?
Yes, ma'am, they've been very responsive to our needs.
Just,
It would be, I don't know when we'd have another chance to do that.
So
oh, I
obviously,
say absolutely on that. That's a no-brainer for me. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
We need, and we can always use, we are always short. We are always short of room
yes,
for
we
the
are.
activities we have. But the biggie for me is bathrooms out there.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to our community to have a restroom to go to and not a porta potty.
Yes. Well, Dr. Foster, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, approve award of contracts for the Spencer County Elementary, Spencer County Middle School renovations and additions, multipurpose facility and campus improvements project, and issue a notice to proceed letter as presented.
Do I have a motion as stated?
I'll make that motion as stated.
Lynn, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Jason, all in favor? Unanimous, including Tim? Let's move on to B.
So our next few actions are as a result of that action. So the next is to approve a post-bid revised BG1 for the project. So you can see it's got quite a background summary with it, but it includes the actual pricing there on the second page. Again, with alternate number 1 being the multipurpose facility, the right-of-way, which is alternate 3, mechanical equipment 4, and mechanical equipment 5, lighting controls, and both of those are at no cost.
Any comments, questions? Dr. Foster, your formal recommendation?
Approve the post-bid revised BG1 for the Spencer County Elementary School and Middle School renovations and additions, multi-purpose facility and campus improvements projects, which is BG 24158, and grant authorization to gather the appropriate signatures as presented.
Do I have a motion as stated?
As stated.
Pam, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Jason, all in favor? Unanimous, and including Tim. Let's move on to C.
The next two, Allison is here. If you have questions, she could probably clarify better than I could, but the next is a proposal for commissioning services for Spencer County Elementary, Spencer County Middle School, multi-purpose building from Trout Tate Wilson. It's at a cost of $84,900, which will be included in soft cost. Allison, anything to add for that one?
This is a code requirement by the Kentucky Building Code to have your new HVAC and lighting systems commissioned. That just means you have a third party that comes in separate from your contractors to make sure everything is installed as specified.
Any comments, questions? Dr. Foster, your formal recommendation.
Approve commissioning services for Spencer County Elementary School, Spencer County Middle School, and the multi-purpose building to be provided by Shrout Tate Wilson in the amount of $84,900 as presented.
Do I have a motion as stated?
I'll make a motion.
Jason, do I have a second? Okay. Tim, second. All in favor? Unanimous, including Tim. D.
Our next item is to approve the proposal for testing and balancing services for the same project, said project, which would be provided by EBCO. Ms. Allison, anything to add to that one?
I'm going to be a broken record on these next few items. These are code requirements, and this is another third party that will come in and test and balance the mechanical systems to make sure that they are functioning as designed.
Any comments or questions? Dr. Foster, your formal recommendation, please.
Approve the proposal from EBCO Incorporated for the amount of $71,700 as presented.
Do I have a motion as stated?
As stated.
Pam, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Jason, all in favor? Unanimous, including Tim Pruitt. I want to make sure I point that out in case you all can't see his hand over there. Okay, let's move on to E.
So along with this project, we need to approve the proposal presented from Sherman Carter Barnhart for special inspections and quality assurance and testing services for the elementary, middle school multipurpose facility from EUS. Miss Allison, anything to add for that one?
Yes, so EUS used to be known as Consulting Services Incorporated. They have a new name now, but same company. They perform all of the geotechnical exploration and survey and report for the campus. So they're very familiar with the project. They would provide special inspections of structural items. So think concrete foundations, footings, steel structures. They would come back as a third-party independent that works directly for the board to make sure that everything is installed per the documents.
Any comments or questions? Dr. Foster, your former.
Based on the recommendation from Sherman Carter Barnhart, approved a proposal for special inspections, quality assurance, and testing services for the Spencer County Elementary, Middle, and Multipurpose Facility project from EUS as presented.
Do I have a motion to state?
As stated.
As stated, that was Tim made the motion. Pam, second. All in favor? Unanimous, including Tim Pruitt. Let's move on to F.
All right, we have a pay application for our Spencer County Early Learning Center project. Mr. Rucker will walk us through that. I believe it's pay application number 9.
So attached to this pay application, it's in the amount of $117,603.07. As we're starting to turn the corner toward completion of that project, we're tying up loose ends. That includes these that are listed and attached in your packet. So hopefully we can work through these, put a nice big red bow on that packet, and open it up in August, ready to show new students.
Any questions, comments? Thank you, Mr. Rucker.
Thank you, Mr. Rucker.
Your formal recommendation.
Approved pay application number 9 for the Spencer County Early Learning Center project from Churchill McGee for the Spencer County Early Learning Center renovation project, which is VG 24149 as presented.
Do I have a motion to state?
I'll make a motion to state it.
Lynn, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Jason, all in favor? Unanimous, including Tim Pruitt. Let's move on to G.
Mr. Murphy is going to join us. His next to last board meeting. Not last yet.
Next class.
I believe Ms. Clevenger was talking about a special meeting. I'm not sure, but another one.
I thought we might need another one just to get him in one more.
Let's see what we have to do and what we need to do. But, we are recommending utilizing the capital funds request process. This was created by the Kentucky General Assembly many years ago, and has been utilized by this board multiple times. I believe I was able to find that it had been about 5 times in the last decade or so that it had been utilized, including once just before I came in 2021, and then once right after I came in fiscal year 22. What this does, it allows school districts to utilize capital funds for purposes that would ordinarily not be allowed. And so this flexibility just gives us the opportunity to take advantage of that due to having excess capital funds in fiscal year 25. And so this would be in effect going back for fiscal year 25. The cover sheet for this item specifies the categories that are proposed to be utilized for the capital funds request, and that includes plant maintenance and repair, property insurance for buildings, purchases of school buses, telecommunication, and school instructional technology, that technology that was specifically utilized in schools. The total of the capital funds request is approximately $1,025,000. And we've been assured the capital funds request process does not impact our bonding potential. And so that's an important thing. This is perhaps not something that we would want to do every year, but it is something that we might want to think about doing for the future, for the foreseeable, or for the near future, let's put it that way. It can be utilized during the school year. It does not have to be done at the very end of the school year, and it does not have to be done all at once. It can be done at multiple times. For instance, if at the beginning of the school year we have a couple of buses, we can say, instead of utilizing the general fund for this, we are able to project that we're going to have excess capital funds available after all debt service costs have been met. And so that can be done at that point in time, or when property insurance on school buildings, when that invoice is coming in, it can be done. And for the property insurance, we've just paid that in the last week or two. And so that could be something that in the near future could even be brought back to you for FY26. But that's not, we've not decided, if that's going to be something that we will do. But that can help the board to increase the fund balance, the contingency along the way. And so there's no guarantee that this is an open-ended process. From what I understand, it has been approved through June 30 of 27, so a couple of years from now. I don't know for sure. A lot of times when you hear that it's a couple of years down the road, it's maybe in a budget bill that has a 2-year cycle. So I don't mean to say that the sky is falling on this opportunity, but it is something to keep in mind. Again, it can be for things like buses, insurance, technology, equipment purchases, say a chiller goes out or something like that that's unexpected, unplanned in the budget. So that is an opportunity that this board, like I say, has done before and may want to do in the future. So.
Thank you, sir. I would add and piggyback, I know one of our challenges, I thought I saw Mr. Chesser here earlier. Hello, Mr. Chesser. Updating our bus fleet is an ongoing concern, so that's something we'll need to look at. I think the other thing to put that's going to be very timely is the 94-wing roof at the high school. If you drive by there, it is literally patched up right now. And so something that the rent is going to be due, as I like to say, fairly soon. So this might be a conversation we'll have to extend.
That would be a perfect opportunity to utilize this opportunity. Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Any other questions or comments? Your formal recommendation, Dr. Foster.
Approve the capital funds request to transfer the allowable general fund expenditures to building and capital outlay funds as allowed by KRS 157.420, section 7, as presented.
I'm getting fast on that. Do I have a motion as stated?
I'll make that motion as stated.
Lynn, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Jason, all in favor? Unanimous, including Tim Truitt. Okay.
Wouldn't be a meeting without hearing from Mr. Rucker multiple times.
Yes.
So join us and talk to us about policy 09123, absences and excuses. We've had multiple conversations and have some revisions for the board to consider this evening as a first reading.
So 09.123 is our absence and excuses policy. I believe we've been receiving feedback from the community since February of last year when you guys asked us to formally provide you with information about surrounding counties, how many notes they were taking and things of that nature. We have taken the time to go through those and recommend a couple of changes to our policy. You'll see them outlined. They are the red portions of this document. The first change you'll see is we've added a section entitled Parent Notes. Parent notes for up to 8 days to document illnesses not requiring a doctor's visit or educational opportunity not covered under an educational opportunity enhancement day. In section 2, we make a change to the current language of the days onto the illness policy to mention the exceeding of those 8 days before we start to require doctor's notes. And then the third change we're recommending tonight is to remove the language from current section 2 that says 1 absence equals 1 day event. All absences require a parent note, doctor's note, or supporting documentation, and add that to the end as a standalone portion in this that will make it applicable to all of the sections above it, and then to remove the word event from that particular section. So as you look at the new clean version of that that's behind those recommendations, you'll see where they slide in. The newly created section 2, the update to what used to be section 2 but is now section 3. And then on the second page of the clean version, the addition and movement of that caveat down at the bottom to make it applicable to all 12 of our sections.
Anybody have any questions or comments? You okay with these changes?
Yeah.
Mr. Pruitt?
With this being a first reading, if you guys get a chance to read it, look over it, have any feedback, we could obviously end it up until the next time we put it on the agenda.
I know, from a parent standpoint, 1 day is 1 absence. If the kid's sick for 2 or 3 days, is that still, that was a push back to school? If they're gonna miss, kid's got the flu, he's gonna be out 2 or 3 days. Why isn't that gonna be 1 absence? Why is it 1, 1, 1?
So ironically, if you listen to our bonding conversation, everything we do, Mr. Phelps, has to account to the day. And so we really don't have the luxury of the blanket excuses for multiple days. It has to account by the day.
For each individual.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And so we've kind of gone from the stricter end of the spectrum of the districts that we shared to more of the more liberal end of it. 8 and 10 are about as high as we have seen. The other thing to point out is the reality of what's called chronic absenteeism, which includes both excused and unexcused absences, which as a district we're held liable for. And so that's considered 10%, which us is 17 days. So if you look at all those other things, things from religious holidays and practices, Kentucky State Fair, military leave, when you think about that, there's a number of things that we allow as an excused absence that could put a kid into being chronically absent. And so, what we've tried to do is look, this essentially adds a full illness event. Now, obviously, some kids are sicker longer than 3 days. Some are less, some are more. But this, I think lightens the load. I think the other thing that we added, when you look at the fact of in number 2, how it reads up to 8 days, document illnesses not requiring a doctor's visit. I think that was a little bit of a misperception in our community.
Yeah.
A lot of folks felt like anytime they were sick, they had to go to the doctor. We wanted to make sure that was more explicit in the revised policy.
I believe that it's a compromise between what some wanted and the other, because I was always.
As a parent, it's better than it was, to be
Yes.
honest,
And I will say we have, one of the things that concerns was availability of a doctor's office.
Yeah.
And we do have an urgent care now that's open to 8 o'clock at night. Now, it doesn't answer the financial piece, and I think that down the road, maybe that's something we can figure out too.
I think another thing that's important to note, and Mr. Rucker and I use the word humane quite often, whether we're dealing with staff, family, students. For a student to get into the court system, you have to get above 10 unexcused absences. So let's assume a student didn't get to 10 and 2 of those became unexcused. They're far from the 10 unexcused. And so humanely, we do not do that to kids or families. You get to 8 and you get to number 9, we're sending a letter. We don't do that. And, so again, we deal with extreme situations when there are a high number of unexcused absences.
Gotcha.
Okay. Any more questions? And again, This is a first reading.
Yeah, that's correct.
And Dr. Foster, what is your recommendation?
Approve first reading of policy 09.123 as presented.
Do I have a motion as stated?
As stated.
Pam, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Jason, all in favor? Unanimous, including Tim Tripp. Okay, time is now 5:55. I'd like a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Y'all know it's me.
I'll
Jason,
second.
do I have a second?
Yes, ma'am.
Lynn, all in favor? Unanimous, including Tim Tripp.
I'm on my way, Tim.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. I hope you could hear.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.